listen, chat, if you're playing against a Sombra Tracer Winston, you are not looking for nades in the backline. You are not looking to play aggressively, but you're still moving because you're making it harder for them to scout you, harder for them to lock you down, and making it harder for them to actually kill you.
This is the best way to play Ana in Overwatch 2. You as Ana should be generally using your Sleep Dot defensively and your Biotic Grenade offensively, looking to move and rotate to positions in the mid-fight to find cheeky angles to toss your nade aggressively and land big purples. However, if you're against a full dive composition, your priority is survival, and you're still moving and rotating in the mid-fight, but to positions of cover and to where your team can help you. Ana's weapon, the Sydney Sleeper, makes Ana shoot out darts dealing 75 damage or healing dealt over time. If Ana zooms in, the shots will be hit scan, and if not, the shots will be a small but fast moving projectile. The rifle has a magazine size of 15, and when scoping in, you also experience a movement speed decrease of 65%. I'll cover some technicalities first. Firstly, scope shots leave a tracer behind, revealing where you last shot from. This just means that you should just have some awareness when scoping in, especially against flankers who you may or may not see. Next, quick scoping. When holding the ADS key, the white outline of Ana's scope appears before you actually zoom in. Be ready for this indication so that you can shoot a few frames later when you just scope in for a split second. But why quickscope? Firstly, as the shot fired is hit scan, you don't need to predict the movement of your teammates. This is especially useful when you're at range and a Genji is double jumping in midair, since it's hard to predict that kind of movements. Quickscoping also minimises the movement penalty and the decreased field of view, since you're not scoping in for a long period of time. Now onto the healing versus damage dynamic, and whether you should be healing or damaging. In short, don't just heal bots. If your Reinhardt is missing 50 HP whilst there's a Pharah aggressing an open space, focus the Pharah. Generally speaking, target priority in general comes down to what's dangerous and what's easy to kill. A pharmacy hovering and firing damage boosted rockets to your team is relatively easy to shoot and can be quite dangerous. Lastly, scoping versus hip firing. In short, scoping in means that shots are easier and faster to land than projectile shots, but the cons are that it's easier to be one-shot due to your reduced movement speed, and the reduced FOV may mean you suffer from tunnel vision. Here's Mineral, the former head coach and general manager of the Boston Uprising, explaining the distance differences when it comes to hip firing or scoping in.
I think around 21 meters is the cutoff, where if the target that you're trying to heal is 21 meters or further away from you, then you're going to heal a lot more by scoping in.
Considering all this, you should avoid staying scoped in for more than 4 to 5 shots unless you're playing in Narnia, which you shouldn't be doing anyways, as you're likely not able to get good angles for your nades. Speaking of which, Ana's first ability, the Purple Goop, makes Ana toss a grenade, dealing 60 damage and 100 healing to enemies and allies respectively. It has a 4 meter radius with a 4-second duration and a 10-second cooldown. The affected allies receive 50% more healing than normal, including from health packs, whereas affected enemies cannot receive any healing at all. Nade is cleansed by Kiriko's Protection Suzu. Before I get onto usage, I thought I'd say that if you want to purchase coaching from yours truly, just join my Discord down below or DM me on Twitter for more details. The main way you'll be getting value out of Ana's nade is by aggressively nading squishies when your team can follow up. This is heavily tied to the positioning section of the guide, but here is me giving an example of when and where you should be looking for these game-changing nades. Imagine if you were here. Look at the nade you could get on backline here. By the way, you had plenty of time to rotate to high ground. You had plenty of time. You could have been walking forward, healing your monkey, healing your monkey, healing your monkey, healing your monkey, rotate up high grounds, nano your Pharah, nade backline, win the fight. Easy clap, clean, right? That's how you win fights as Ana. That's how you win games as Ana. There's also the timing of your nades too. You could land the juiciest, biggest 5-man anti-nade in the entire world, but if your team can't follow up, then it's kind of pointless. Not to mention, it's easier to nade when your team are doing stuff, since not only can they follow up, but it's more likely that your nade will actually hit in the first place.
You have map control and they're rotating. You need to nade this. And this is not a hard nade either. Just right there. You're going to hit Super, you're going to hit Sigma. Probably like a 50-50 chance of forcing Lamp as well. Yeah, you'd force Lamp. Yeah, you'd definitely force Lamp. And now your window of opportunity to nade is gone, because you can no longer safely peek this to nade it. And the value of the nade here is going to be reduced because your team is not going to be in a position to punish it because you do not have your bubbles. Yeah, so you nade this, but it's completely worthless. Like, what else? This Super can literally just hard focus on blocking nade now. And even if you did land it, there's no follow-up. So your timing is completely like just trash. So you see how you miss the cycle here too? Look. 3, 2, 1. There's a projected bubble. Where's my nade? This might have actually like gotten a kill. But no, we're not nading this. So because we don't have nade, because we just used it 2 seconds ago.
These two reasons are exactly why you nade when your Reinhardt swings or when your monkey dives in. There's also defensive nades, where you just nade yourself to stay alive, or you nade a teammate for burst healing. Again, this is heavily tied to the positional section. And lastly, something I don't see many Honor guides talk about are set nades. These are certain spots where you can throw your nade in the air and have it reliably hit a certain spot every single time by positioning your crosshair in a specific spot. I also recommend checking out Karq's set nade video for more details. Honor's second ability, the only CC support ability, makes Honor fire a dart, rendering an enemy unconscious for up to 5 seconds, with the sleep dart being on a 14-second cooldown. Sleep dart is one of those abilities you don't often proactively use to get value, since it's a defensive ability. Think of it like Orisa's Fortify. You're not actively looking to get value out of Fortify, you just use it when you're reactively pressured to stay alive, and the same is mostly true with Honor's sleep dart. There is one main exception, and that's just when you don't get pressured at all. If the enemy team have no flankers you need to worry about, tossing a sleep dart and hitting the enemy tank is just free value that you could be missing out on. But do be wary that doing this against teams with high mobility heroes who can dive you can provide a window for them to dive you. Honor's ultimate, Finker's Adrenal Surge, provides a 50% damage buff and damage reduction to any teammate that Honor chooses, lasting 8 seconds, alongside the capability to heal up to 250 HP. Way back in Overwatch 1, ML7, a top 500 Honor streamer, made a Google spreadsheet, link in the description or on the top right, and a video covering what heroes to aggressively nanoboost. Obviously, there have been new heroes to Overwatch 2, as well as some reworks, but his sheet still mainly applies. In essence, aggressive nanoboost usage enhances a high damage or high mobility, or ideally both traits in a teammate. It's why Nanoblade is such a threat, since it greatly enhances Genji's damage and indirectly enhances his mobility by him being able to get his dash resets more often. But an aggressive teammate who may be a Reinhardt or a Marcher pushing in, a Jungle Queen who's ulted in the backline, a Soldier or a Sojourn taking an angle using their ultimate, or a Zarya aggressively grabbing backline are all good targets for an aggressive nanoboost. The other two uses are to revert pressure or to save someone's life, both of which are kind of defensive reasons. Reverting pressure means you nanoboost someone who might be losing a duel, like a DPS on an off angle, or a Reinhardt getting run over by the enemy Reinhardt, and all of a sudden, the added HP, damage reduction, and damage boost immediately swings that duel and reverts any and all pressure that was once on them. Imagine you're on Junkertown 3rd points and your DPS are taking a duel. All of a sudden, your DPS gets chunked down pretty badly and they get pushed on. Now when you nanoboost, you catch the enemy off guard, your DPS now wins that duel, you've just won a vital piece of the map, and now you're a man up, almost guaranteeing you this teamfight win in just a split second. And lastly, nanoboosting to save someone's life. For example, sometimes in the Overwatch League, you'll see some Honor players nanoboost their Zen or Mercy when they're being pressured in order to keep them alive, and maybe even revert pressure too, since a nanoboosted Zen can dish out some pretty good damage. Now onto the positioning and playstyle section of this guide. Before I get into the nitty gritty of positioning with not only Honor, but supports in general, here's the Goyce Cat giving a broad overlook of how supports play in Overwatch 2.
They have a new passive, which means they can literally take any position on the map, and they're also heavily discouraged from holding the same position for too long. Supports need to be flanking and helping win duels for their DPS. They need to be out-rotating the enemy backline and finding their own angle onto them. Most importantly, they need to help their team draw enemy attention into multiple places.
Positioning can be broken down generally into 4 rules for most heroes, which I'll show as cover, lines of sight, distance from angles, and rotations. But unlike other heroes, all 4 of these rules are extremely important for your own survival as Honor, as well as your ability to find high value through your nades. Here's an example to express this on Lijiang Gardens. Here are all the points on this side of the map with cover, but let's say you're playing this side of Dojo. Here, not only do you have good cover, but you also have line of sight onto points, onto the rest of coast, and into Dojo. Line of sight is important because not only does it mean that you can actually help and heal your team like normal, but it also means that your team can help you if you're in danger. For instance, it could be like a Mercy flying to you, or Brigitte giving you a repair pack. If you're all the way stuck over bridge and you get dove, you have no line of sight, meaning nobody can help you.
You've missed your opportunity to get something done. So what happens? Good sleep. Where should you go after the Winston sleep? I don't know, you tell me. Towards the team, yes. Or, if your team can't help you, run away. Nade the floor. It's a 1v1 versus a tracer. You could have drawn this out way longer than you did. You got the health pack at essentially full HP, so that was a waste. Not good.
The third rule is distance from angles or flanks. This just means keeping as much distance as possible from potential flanks or threats so you have time to react, land damage, and run away from these flankers. This example on Dojo means Tracer has to travel a very long distance to get to you, and you also have enough time to react to threats coming to Dojo. And lastly, you also have many rotations to different angles and positions with cover. Both aggressive rotations, where you might want to look for a nade, like through Dojo, or defensive rotations, where you look for health packs, places where you can retreat, or where you can move to your team for help.
I don't like this. Now you've rolled the dice. Do I hit the sleep dart? Oh, I didn't hit the sleep dart? Well, guess what? Look at where I'm at. In no man's land. You don't have nade, the tracer's on you, rotate to another position, better sightline. She's on you again, you grab the health pack, you rotate again. And then by then, maybe you have your nade, and then if you're doing your job elsewhere, and maybe that tracer's used to recall, then you go kill her. You push and you pull. You rotate left and right to create more offensive opportunities, but also to make it easier for you to survive. You are static. Now, in Overwatch 1, that was bad, but it was doable. But now there's one fewer playmaker, so if you're a deadweight lead sock nobody, then it's a lot harder to keep you alive, and standing still doesn't work. And listen, chat, if you're playing against a Sombra Tracer Winston, you are not looking for nades in the backline. You are not looking to play aggressively, but you're still moving because you're making it harder for them to scout you, harder for them to lock you down, and making it harder for them to actually kill you.
When you go for aggressive rotations, refer back to the thing about nade timing. You want to go for these rotations when your team are doing stuff, because nobody's looking at you, they're looking at the tanks drawing attention. That entire section might be a lot to digest, so let me simply summarize it in 6 words. Aggressively or defensively move with cover. Staying static, regardless of what composition you're playing against, is a death sentence for you in Overwatch 2. If you're playing against more static, immobile compositions, look to move to aggressive positions where you can fish for big anti-nades, and maybe even sleep darts too. If you're playing against more mobile, divey compositions, look to move to more defensive positions with cover and or where your team can see you to help out, using your sleep and nade defensively. I know I only went over one example in high detail, but hopefully the principle of teaching a man how to fish for life, rather than giving a man a fish for a day, carries across here. Now onto Ana's backline synergies. Ana Kiriko, a high utility, versatile support duo. Kiriko makes up for Ana's lack of mobility, and the greatest downside of this pairing is that it's a bit of a jack of all trades but master of none kind of thing. It lacks the brawl capability of Ana Brig, it lacks any speed compared to Moira Lucio, and it lacks the double hit scan effect of Ana Bap. But for most situations, you shouldn't really complain about this pairing. Ana Moira. Ana makes up for Moira's lack of utility, and actually, in the higher ranks, because Moira's in top 500 many players flankers, you'll be hogging up most of the healing. Nothing too much to say here aside from Moira lacks any ability to peel for you, and if you're Moira healbots, you have to be going for aggressive anti-nades. Ana Lucio. This pair optimizes Ana for brawl comps due to Lucio's speed. Don't tunnel onto your brawl tank healbotting them, still look for gaps and areas to find value off your nades, and Lucio's speed can be also useful to you to help you rotate more aggressively or defensively, as talked about just now. Ana Mercy. A good Mercy will mainly be pocketing the DPS. I'm sure you all know about the Surge and Mercy crisis going on right now. This relieves the burden of healing off you to just your tank and your ability to once again fish for those nades. If you are playing defensively for whatever reason, like you're up against a hard dive comp, stay in LOS of your Mercy and keep your distance from those flankers. Cover is really important here. Ana Zen, the classic glass cannon duo. High utility, high damage, strong ultimates, and relatively high though inconsistent healing. This is best suited for longer ranged maps, though at that point, Bap Zen or Mercy Zen, hence why you need to make up for it in the value you get with nades. Ana Bap, just play this duo against Pharmacy. In higher ranks at least, Bap Ana is pulled out when your team is really struggling with Pharmacy and your Bap acts as a third DPS. In fact, the Spitfire way back in 2021 pulled this out against the Paris Eternal to deal with Pharmacy specifically. The issue with Bap Ana is that it struggles against dive though, so be wary of that. And lastly, Ana Brig. It's unfortunate that Brig lost her stun in Overwatch 1, which made this duo quite powerful, but Brig can still do a solid job poppy guarding and peeling for you. Make sure you guys rotate together and maintain LOS, and let Brig pack her DPS whilst you do the rest. Well, that's it for the guide. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And if this video helped to raise your IQ, be sure to share it with your friends to also raise theirs. Until next time.